No. I definitely did not think the Sparkle Megan thing would be such a thing and so polarizing. It was pretty funny. I feel like people either absolutely love it or absolutely hate it. And it's funny. I think going into the pods too, I knew that was a risk, even with the guys. But I think it was also a way of like weeding out some of the ones like, okay, if you can't take a joke, like maybe you're not for me. I think this is gonna stick with me forever. I should have thought about that. Yeah. So when Jordan and I entered the real life, like honestly, things were great for a while, and like, um, I was pretty confident about our journey and where we were headed. I think it was like 10 days before the wedding, we had our first kind of full day without cameras, without work. And it was just he and I, our chance to connect and have fun without cameras or anything. And um, I kind of saw a different side of Jordan, just not bad, but like very quiet. And there were parts of it that, was a little awkward. Um, and it was a little scary for me. Seeing this version of him, you're about to walk down the aisle in 10 days, and then it's like, holy crap, like this is a totally different Jordan than I was used to. And, I think there's a multitude of factors. He and I have kind of unpacked it since, and, the demands of filming are a lot more intense than I think people realize. So between that and then, Jordan really was working at his 9 to 5 and then managing both time with me and Luca. Um, I think that was a lot for him and wore on him. And so, those days without cameras, he really needed to recharge. And um, but yeah, it was a little scary for me. Like, man, do we really have that much in common? Or like when this is all said and done, are we just going to be sitting across the dinner table staring at each other, or are we actually going to have fun like we did in the pods and have that connection. So it was a little scary for me. Yeah, for sure. No, and I think that's one thing about this experience. Like the viewers only see, a very small portion of our time together. And I do think some of that was missing. And also, like I will say, I think it was kind of like we were doing so well, and then I think the breakup for some people came out of nowhere. But that whole week leading up to the wedding, Jordan and I were very transparent with one another, and we had multiple conversations. So it certainly neither of us were blindsided by that breakup. And we had kind of gone into this with the agreement that, if neither of us are 110%, like let's not do this. And I was very adamant. I've come from, my parents have gotten divorced. I have friends that have gotten divorced, my sister. Um, and so that's, when I finally say I do, I really, this is putting a lot of pressure on myself, but like I do not want to get divorced and I want to be in it for forever. Um, and as the wedding approached with Jordan, I was having those doubts and I was very honest with him about it. Um, and so, yeah, it just ultimately, I couldn't get there. Yeah, I think we're a little misaligned there. Well, and it's hard to say, like, you never know. Had we met, 2 years down the line or when now I think he quit his job and is doing influencing full time. I don't know. It's hard to say, but at that moment in time, yeah, it was really hard. And um, maybe had the circumstances been different. But I also, yeah, I just think we're two very different people, and a lot of that wasn't transparent to me until we were really in the thick of, real life together. Yeah, I mean, I think people are going to say what they're going to say. I think the beauty of this experience is that it teaches you what you want, what you don't want. Um, I mean, regardless of the outcome, you learn a ton about yourself and what you need in a relationship and a marriage and a partnership. And that was certainly the case for me. And I think, you know, what, 4 months after Jordan and I ended things, I met Paul and we just immediately clicked. And like I knew he was everything that I wanted in a partner. And so, I think it's funny that people are criticizing me for like moving so quickly, having a baby, whatever, but it's like they're not commenting at all on the Love is Blind experience. Like you're getting married in 7 weeks, but yet it's crazy for me to meet somebody, in 3 months and who knows? Yeah. I mean, I think just it's hard to explain, but like I feel like when you know, you just know. And like that's how it was immediately with Paul. And I think with Jordan there were still some things that like I had doubts around. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think with Paul, it's just like we know how to communicate. We're emotionally available with one another. We can have fun. We can also sit on the couch and do nothing and not talk. And I mean, I don't know. I think it's even just like the vibe with your person. Yeah, I mean, it's a hard thing to, I think, articulate, but it's just, I think this whole experiment, I was really in tune with my gut feeling and um so I guess I would compare it to that. Like you just know. And I think as the wedding approached with Jordan, I just there was something that didn't feel right to me. And I was even questioning, like, okay, like, should I go through with this? And I could always get a divorce, but like then I kind of checked myself and I'm like, hey, n no, like you should be going into your wedding with a hell yes. And if it's not a hell yes, then it was a no for me. And, I Jordan was very adamant that it was either marriage or we're over. So, dating after the fact was not an option. And I totally understand that and respect that. Um, but yeah, I mean, ultimately I stand by the decision I made and I'm very happy here today. So I was still in LA when the experiment ended.
Hmm.
Um, and so it's funny, like and I'm sure you saw this on the reunion too, but I feel like the whole pod squad was a little like everyone was dating
Yeah.
everybody because I mean, yeah, you do, everybody dates everybody and you had 16 connection. Well, they dwindled pretty quick,
Right.
but um, no, I mean, I think I would also say dates were a loose term. I met up with Mike twice. Um, and I think yeah, there's just some curiosity and like even closure there. Um, because I had never met him in person. And so I think just seeing that in real life. And then, the Blake thing, I think was more on him just to formally apologize. And he's such a good guy. And there's no hard feelings there for sure. But I think he more so wanted to just apologize for how things played out, which I'm glad we had the chance to do that. So I was still in LA when the experiment ended.
Hmm.
Um, and so it's funny, like, and I'm sure you saw this on the reunion too, but I feel like the whole pod squad was a little like everyone was dating
Yeah.
everybody because I mean, yeah, you do, everybody dates everybody, and you had 16 connection. Well, they dwindled pretty quick,
Right.
but um, no, I mean, I think I would also say dates were a loose term. I met up with Mike twice. Um, and I think yeah, there's just some curiosity and like even closure there. Um, because I had never met him in person. And so I think just seeing that in real life. And then, the Blake thing, I think was more on him just to formally apologize. And he's such a good guy. And there's no hard feelings there for sure. But I think he more so wanted to just apologize for how things played out, which I'm glad we had the chance to do that. Yeah, so well, the first set of episodes, I woke up at 1 a.m.
Right.
Denver time. And I was like, I need to watch this by myself. I need to know what's coming, whatever. And I'm glad I did that, but I was pleasantly surprised. I think, I showed up pretty authentically and I thought there weren't really any surprises. So, but no, Paul's been nothing but supportive. I was a little nervous, but he's honestly been amazing. And like, I think he thinks it's really cool to learn, you know, all this about me. And it's basically, I had a friend, she was like, this is basically like how to date Megan 101 for Paul.
True.
Um, so yeah, I think it's been a really cool experience for the both of us, and he's been such a good sport about everything. And sure, I think there are some, challenging moments for us to sit and watch together, but for the most part, we've been able to just kind of laugh about it. And I think, again, this was a year and a half ago at this point, so it's like it feels so far in the past that, I think even from then to now, I'm in such a different place. I'm such a different person, woman, um, that yeah, it's been good for us.
Well,
Marriage is definitely on the forefront. Um, we actually were almost going to get engaged last fall,
oh,
but I think we both decided like me, especially with how quickly this Love is Blind experiment happened, I was like, we are in no rush. If we're going to spend the rest of our lives together, you know, let's enjoy our time and continue to learn about each other. But yeah, I think it's definitely on the forefront here. And best thing about being a mom, so many things. I mean, the newborn snuggles were so much fun. But it's just, I mean, getting to see this little person that you created like learn and change and laugh and grow. And yeah, it's just, the best thing ever.